Welcome to the panel, The Power of Broadcast. My name is Hugo Izard, and I'm a partner in technology and transformation in Deloitte, Spain. Today, I'm thrilled to be on the ground at the Olympic Games in Paris as part of the Deloitte's Management Consulting Partnership with the International Olympic Committee. I'm joined by two amazing guests, Yiannis, CEO of Olympic Broadcasting Services and Executive Director of Olympic Channel Services, and Sarah Vickers, Head of Olympic and Paralympic Program from an Intel Corporation. The sport broadcast landscape is undergoing a full transformation, driven by IP technologies, software-defined broadcast, and of course, AI. This is creating a whole revolution of the industry, enhancing the overall fan experience. Yiannis, it's really hard to believe. More than 11,000 hours of content during the Games.
That's true. That's true. We're going to produce by the end of the Games more than 11,000 hours of content, which is more than 400 days of content produced within 17 days. And this is driven primarily for the need to have the right content for the right platform, for the right way of consuming. The competition itself for the Olympic Games is something like 3,800 hours. So we produce 3 times that precisely in order to address all these different needs. The Olympics is truly a universal event, meaning not just in the sense of all nations and all sports, but it brings together also all demographics, is what we call usually in media a major audience aggregator. This is something that doesn't happen very often. We believe that by the end of the Games, more than half of the Earth's population will have experienced through broadcast the Olympic Games. There are very few things, if there are any, that bring together more than half of the Earth's population. And that means that you have people who have been following the Olympics for 60, 70 years in their lives, and you have young people and kids that it's going to be their first experience. And of course, the way that all these people consume content and the way that they have their own experience of the Olympic Games is different. This is what's driving this need for big volume of content, but also a very big variety of content. And of course, this is something that makes us and forces us as the host broadcaster of the Games to try and be very, very efficient. You cannot do such a massive production following traditional workflows, but also because excellence is expected from athletes, it's also expected from what we do. So we have to be at the very top edge of what we do in terms of quality of coverage and storytelling.
And let me also congratulate you for the success broadcasting of the opening ceremony, despite the weather conditions and also the difficulty behind having so many scenarios. So what are the unique technologies that you are bringing to the Games for that coverage?
You mentioned the opening ceremony, which proves now that we're gathering also all the data, one of the most successful also on broadcast. It's easy for me now to look back to the night of the opening ceremony and smile, because at the night, I must tell you that I was in the track and we were a little concerned because 4 hours of raining while you're in the water, while you're in the river, producing that is not an easy task. We were, I think that we managed to deliver the opening ceremony and the vision of the ceremony. We used a very big number of resources, more than 120 cameras. Unfortunately, we could not fly drones. That was something that I felt sad because of the weather. Even our helicopters couldn't fly for almost half of the ceremony. But still, we had set up a network of how to transmit, how to cover, that eventually worked. It was a huge challenge, both for the team that delivered the physical event across 6 kilometers, and also for us who delivered the coverage. Looking back to it, I believe that in the future, this ceremony will be a historical ceremony, not just because of the concept, bringing an opening ceremony in the heart of the city on a river, but also because it was delivered under these adverse circumstances. This is what turned it from a big show into a truly Olympic show. like some of the best Olympic stories are stories of people and athletes, going against the odds and against big problems. I think this was also part of the success.
And Sarah, Intel is taking a leading role on this transformation journey of the broadcasting. And Intel is also aiming to create a customized broadcast experience and also driving the industry forward. So having all this context, what are some technologies that are applying for these Olympic Games and how you are impacting the way broadcasters produce content at scale?
Sure, I can give a couple of examples. So the first is one you mentioned with AI. So with all of those hours of content, there's so many different highlights that you can feature that fans want to experience what's important to them. And previously it was really hard to do that because you were limited by the number of people you had to produce those highlights. Now with AI, the limit is anything you could possibly think of. So before, a lot of the most popular sports, the most popular countries, they just naturally had more highlights because of the audience size. But now you can create those customized, specialized highlights based on a number of factors, whether that be the country, the sport, the reaction of the audience. So there's so many more things where people are going to get that more personalized experience that Yiannis was mentioning that consumers are demanding. The other example I'll give is more on the behind the scenes, where we're moving from a very traditional broadcast fixed appliance and moving to a software-defined service. Why does that matter? Because fixed appliances are limited in what you can do. They don't have as much flexibility. If you move to software, you can have that same truck that you're using game over game, so you can apply it for different sports. There's a lot of different applications that make it really beneficial and cost-effective, sustainable, and a whole bunch of other things that will help broadcasters.
If I may, let's take a moment to think through a little bit what Sarah is saying here. Intel has developed for us this platform that generates automated highlights based on AI technology. The concept is simply easier said than done, though. In order to produce highlights, in football, it's pretty easy, but to generate that in an event like the Olympic Games with athletes from 206 nations across 35 sports, that's a very different thing, a very different task. What is the outcome? In the first 3 days, we had almost 30,000 individual highlights generated by the broadcasters. To do that, the amount of personnel and stuff that you would need is, nobody can afford to do that. But why is it important? In the games, you have instances where you have, 25 sports taking place at the same time. Nobody can follow, but everybody wants to see what happened within 30 seconds to see what's the result of a match, the best moment of an athlete. And they want to see it in the way that both the broadcaster and themselves are used to be seeing it, whether it's a horizontal video with commentary, with graphics, without, or a vertical video. All this variety of content is what now is put in place through this platform that Intel has developed. This is a breakthrough for us. Sarah is talking about software-defined broadcasting, which for us, it's kind of the North Star. I think we did, as OBS, a significant movement, was a strategic decision that we made back in 2016 to start moving away from traditional broadcast legacy technology into IP technologies, because we saw there an opportunity to exploit all the efficiencies that IP technology brings. Again, to do that for home use or even normal business functions is one thing. To do that for UHD, HDR live coverage of the Olympic Games is a different thing. And this is where you need to have, very strong technology partners to have the capacity, to have the experience, the technology to deliver. And if you can deliver for the Olympic Games, this opens a very wide avenue for broadcasters to be doing on their day-to-day business. When we introduced cloud into broadcasting, was 6-7 years ago, many broadcasters, were doubtful whether this can work for broadcasting, live broadcasting. Where here we are, one pandemic later, and everybody starts adopting. It's the main means of distribution of content from the games in the Games of Paris.
Now, a question for both of you. Given this technological transformation, what do you think are the real benefits and advantage for the audience, for the fan experience?
Well, I think it's that customized experience that fans are expecting, or that experience that they can pick and choose and see what they really want to see. So I think people are just going to be more engaged because they can see things that are interesting to them. And the way consumers are acting now with social media and all those other things, that's the expectation. So that number is mind-boggling to me because it's the first time we've actually heard it as the partner. And it's amazing to see that happen, that we're able to help all of these people enjoy that content in a really unique way.
I think the key word is that it's engagement and capacity to consume content, because one of the issues, if you want, that media industry is facing today is that there is so much segmentation of the audience and so much lack of focus and attention that really it's very difficult to find the audiences somewhere. I believe that modern technology, all these technologies that we're talking about, need to be used not for the sake of simply showcasing technology itself, and this is not at least the way we think. We're trying to look at the right technology that has the capacity to deliver the right storytelling for an event like the Olympic Games that creates a deep level of engagement. Whether this is in different circumstances, whether it is, relaxing back home in front of a very big screen and wanting to take your time and be left and enjoy, or when you go to your work on the bus and want to consume very, very fast, on where you're at your work and you pretend that you're working, but secretly you're watching the Olympic Games. So how to make this experience, entertaining, engaging, inspirational. So there are elements in technologies that help you very much with the end product, what ultimately the audience is watching and consuming, but also there are many elements that help us make all this work behind the scenes so much more efficient. Because if we are to deliver all these things with traditional technologies, this is impossible. It is impossible. So they help us to scale, and they help us to make the content more engaging and more exciting.
That's great. Let me finish talking about the future. In connection with the role of Deloitte will play as a technological integration and the importance of data. How are you envisioning this changing paradigm driven by the data transformation and the increase in engagement, as you said, and the monetization?
Let me tell you something that we have faced ourselves as a host broadcaster through the years of our development. With the development of television, then of digital media and so on, we have been faced with this challenge of producing different products. And we realized early enough that it cannot be that you organize always different verticals in order to produce all these products. This is unsustainable. So we started through the years ourselves thinking of efficiencies and thinking of a common layer of producing many different types of products. This is what led into our transition to IP, and this is what leads us to the vision of a software-defined broadcast operation, because this will give us the flexibility to set up coverages very, very fast and very efficiently, to do this very complex configuration that we have. We ask our tracks today to do things that they never do in their normal operations. The nature of the Olympic coverage, we produce 3 different feeds. We produce content for digital. If you go to an Olympic track, it's put equipment after equipment. So for us, the future is clearly to turn this into a software layer. And this is where, for example, this project that we're doing together with Intel, which is an Obi-Wan without a physical presence, virtual Obi-Wan as we call it, is fantastic. And we're already delivering Olympic coverage in 3 sports in Paris without a TV broadcast van there. We do it with servers and with software. So if you can do it in the Olympics, you really can do it. So for me, what is it for the future? It is to find very smart ways of orchestrating what appear to be different technologies. And this is, I believe, that also the role of a partner like Deloitte, who understand the different streams of technologies, understand the data layer which goes under everything, understand, you know, the interaction between software and different versions of hardware, and how this can be orchestrated in the most efficient way in the context of the most complex event in the world, which is the Olympic Games. Not just in broadcast, but also in the delivery of the games themselves, without needing to create the traditional verticals for every function of the games. This is where I feel that the role of Deloitte, being one of the leaders in the world of technology in designing architectures for systems, will be crucial for the future of the games. Because I believe that people will not stop asking for more, for better products, better services, better sport, more. But of course it's unsustainable to do it that. This is where technology and a proper orchestration of different technologies will be very important.
That's great. So, on behalf of Deloitte, I'd like to thank you for watching, and I hope you like it. Please enjoy the rest of the Olympic and Paralympic experiencing all these amazing technologies that you mentioned, like the high level of customization for the fans, the automatic highlights, and also all these cloud and remote production that you are putting in place, that both Intel and OBS are putting together for the coverage of the games in Paris. So if you like to watch this panel playback and others, head over to LinkedIn Live. So thank you very much for tuning in. We'll be you back soon.
Thank you very much for having us.